This screencast will explain how to compose APA reference entries and in-text citations for data collected from the Journal Citation Reports database. This is the basic APA entry for a work retrieved through a database, and an example entry from a work used in one of the sample student essays. Note the style used to present the author's name. No full first names, first initial only. Pay attention to the capitalization scheme for article titles. Capitalize only the first main word of the article title, and use lowercase for all remaining words, unless the word is a proper noun. You will also see that the basic APA entry does not require the name of the database, but APA does require you to identify the database if the information can only be found in a specific database, as is the case with this sample student reference entry. The citation data in the JCR is specific to that database, so you would list it by name. APA requests that when listing a database, include the URL for the database's entry page. Keep in mind that some, but not all, database articles have a Digital Object Identifier Number, or DOI. This sample entry doesn't have one. But if you have an article with a DOI, APA asks you to include it immediately after the page range. If you have an article with a DOI number, then you don't need any retrieval information. This would go away. This basic entry works well for articles published in a journal indexed in a database. It does not work well for information where there is no article or journal. Data from the Journal Citation Reports database is that kind of information. That information also lacks an author because the JCR is not a corporate author. Here's why. Corporate authors are professional associations, corporations, organizations, or government agencies that take responsibility for the information they publish. Databases are not considered corporate authors. The next slides will explain how you can compose a reference entry for information cited from the JCR database, information that is not an article, is not published in a journal, and has no author. So let's go to a list of journals in the Journal Citation Reports database. For the purpose of this screencast, I'm going to use the Social Science edition of the JCR and the Business Finance subject category. This page represents the alphabetical listing of journal titles in this subject category. Look carefully at the title of this page. It's called Journal Summary List. In a database like the JCR, the title of the web page is equivalent to the title of an article. But this alphabetical list is not of much use to you, so use the Sorted By drop-down menu to go to the Impact Factor page. I have sorted for Impact Factor, so I am now on the Impact Factor page. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to use the Accounting Review, a scholarly journal in the field of accounting. This page has sorted all journals in the Business Finance subject category according to Impact Factor, which computes a journal's impact in the field over a period of 2 years. Note that there are other disciplines represented in this category, such as finance. So I'm looking for a journal in the top 10, not necessarily the one ranked first. In my paper, I want to cite the Accounting Review, since it is ranked 7th among the top 10 periodicals in the entire business finance category. So I would select the entry for the Accounting Review and go to its page in the JCR. That is the page you will cite. Here I am on that page. You are looking at the journal ranking data for the Accounting Review. We are still in the 2011 Social Science edition of the JCR, but we now have a new page title, Ranking Category Accounting Review. We also have specific data to cite. This journal ranks 7th in Impact Factor out of 86 periodicals in the Business Finance subject category for 2011. This places the Accounting Review in the first quartile and certainly in the top 10. This information is important because it is the context you must provide to your reader when integrating citation data in your paper. Let's see how you would use this information to compose an APA reference entry. This is the basic APA reference entry for a work retrieved from a database. This is the APA reference entry for the impact factor data for the accounting review in the business finance subject category of the JCR. Look at what has changed. There is no author. Since the JCR is not a corporate author. Instead, the title of the web page containing the data, which is equivalent to the title of an article, becomes the first item in the reference entry. Next, use the date of the JCR edition, since this is the publication date for the data. There is no journal title, so you do not include one. The remainder of the entry represents the name of the database and the name of the edition, which in this case was the 2011 Social Science edition. Thomson Reuters requests that you include the registered trademark symbol after the name of the database. I use a Mac, and to make that symbol appear, press Option plus R. I'm not sure, but in Windows you would use Alt plus 0174. You should include the name of the JCR edition with the name of the publisher, Thomson Reuters, and the copyright date. The copyright date appears at the bottom of every JCR page. Note that it is different from the date of the edition. Follow this with the URL of the home page of the JCR. Now that you know what the reference entry will be for this data, you can accurately compose the in-text citation. On this page, you will see the reference entry for the JCR data that we just created, the in-text citation for this data, and the contextualization of the data from the source as you would write it in your paper to include the in-text citation. How do you arrive at these citations? First, base your in-text citation on the reference entry. Make sure that the first item in your reference entry is the first item in your in-text citation. The publication manual of the APA recommends that for works without an author, you use an abbreviated form of the title, followed by the date. Based on the reference entry we composed, you would abbreviate the title of the web page as indicated. If you are wondering why I capitalized accounting, way to go. Because the title of a journal is a proper noun, so I would capitalize this term, even when abbreviated. If it were not, I wouldn't capitalize it. I did not include the entire name of the journal, but did include just enough to distinguish this in-text citation from any other I might use from the JCR. Citation can seem overly complex, but if you remember that one of the main purposes of source citation is to help the reader retrieve your source, it's easier to keep track of what you need to do when you cite your own sources. Think about the reader's experience here. The reader encounters this passage in your essay, notes the contextualization of the data, sees the in-text citation, and then goes to your reference page to find it. Do you see how easily this in-text citation directs the reader to the item on the reference page? By the way, contextualizing the journal ranking for a periodical is important. Providing a number alone won't mean anything to your reader. You need to place that number in some context so that the reader fully appreciates how highly ranked the journal is. I hope you found this screencast helpful. These are the 3 sources I used to compose these APA entries. If you are in a discipline that uses APA style, you may want to purchase the publication manual for use in writing papers in your upper division coursework.